Hey YouTube, Do-It-Yourself Junkie 369. Today is day 107 of our RV-10 build. Still working on the tail cone. So my wife and I are going to be continuing back riveting all the stiffeners, the J-channel stiffeners. Okay, I'm working on section 10, page 23, step 4, which is bolting the bell crank here to the battery support. And it uses these 8 AN bolts plus washers under them. And I had seen somewhere online somebody saying they're familiar with the rule where 3 threads at a minimum have to be sticking through the lock nut or the nut or the screw plate. And these stick out a lot more than that. It looks like 8 to 9 threads sticking out of the nut plates. And so I can confirm that is correct. Doesn't seem like it would be. My thought process on that is the reason Vans went with this long bolt that sticks out the nut plate too far is they wanted an unthreaded shank going through the bell crank support here and the battery support plate and not have any threads in those areas. Because if you stack up those in the washer, pretty much your threaded portion begins right on the other side of all 3 of those objects stacked together. Now you'll want to torque these, and I covered torquing a little bit in some earlier videos, not real in depth. But you notice when I put in those bolts, I only put them in about halfway until I got all 8 in there, and then I tighten them down with a ratchet, not a torque wrench, until they're just touching. So they haven't been torqued yet. Next step will be torquing. So I didn't sit there ratcheting the bolt down with the torque wrench. That's abusive for your torque wrench. You want to use a ratchet or a wrench for that, and then switch to your torque wrench to apply the extra torque. Normally you hold the bolt and torque the nut side, but since these are going in the nut plates, we'll be torquing on the bolt side. And then what I haven't done in other videos is once you have those torqued down and you know that you've torqued them, so you'll go in kind of a grid pattern, alternating around the pattern, and then you'll go back and check all of them once in kind of a circular pattern to make sure you didn't miss one. Then you're going to apply some torque seal. I usually call it torque stripe. And I can put a link to this stuff. I bought it off of Amazon. It comes in different colors. You can get pink, blue, green, red, white. I went with, yellow. I went with orange. I don't know why. That was just the color I wanted. It doesn't match anything in my future paint scheme that I'm aware of. But it's a nice bright color, and I'll be able to instantly tell whether any of these are coming loose, because you'll look in there and the torque seal will be broken or cracked. Or torque lacquer is another good word for it. So that's what we're going to do. Now you may be wondering, how do you know what you torque these bolts or nuts to? If you go to 5.20 up in the front matter, or 5-20 for page number, there's a chart at the bottom, and that gives you a list of torques. These are AN3 bolts. It'll give you that they're number 10 size with 32 pitch thread. And a lot of the plane we're using self-locking nylon lock nuts. There's separate columns for that. That would be like 28 inch-pounds. And it also gives you the foot-pound conversion. If you didn't have that, what you do is, if you have inch-pounds and you need foot-pounds, you divide that by 12. If you have foot-pounds and you need inch-pounds, you multiply by 12. It's literally based on 12 inches to a foot. Anyway, we are going to be doing 20 to 25 inch-pounds. And there's all different ways of doing that. What I've learned recently is you're given a range, so you need to know the resolution that your torque wrench is capable of. And usually torque wrenches will come with a calibration card. This one says it's plus or minus 4% accuracy. Need a calculator real quick. So what we'll do is we'll do 20 plus 25 divided by 2. That will get us the middle of that range, which is 22.5, times by 4%. That's 0.9. So our torque wrench is more than accurate enough. And the ideal is you set that torque wrench to 23 foot-pounds. I don't think you'll be able to do 22.5 on this one. Nope. So I would set it to 23 torque and know that I'm within that 20 to 25 foot-pound range. That's not how I was taught to do it in the Marine Corps. This is what I've learned after the Marine Corps. And different places have different rules. That's just from a mechanical engineering standpoint, how we looked at it, right or wrong. Probably more than likely right. In the Marine Corps, what we did is, if it was a castellated nut, we would go to 20 foot-pounds and torque it to that. And then we would slightly increase that torque to try to line up the castellations with the hole in the bolt, so we could get a cotter pin through there. On uncastellated fasteners, we would go to the max torque. So in this case, 25 foot-pounds. That's what I'm going to be doing because that's how I was raised in the Marine Corps aviation community, and that's what I'm going to stick with. Make sure you're using inch-pounds or foot-pounds. You know what one you're using. This also has like kilograms, centimeters. I've seen some with Newton meters. If you try to do 25 Newton meters, you're probably going to break something, if I remember the conversion correctly. So you always want to be aware of what you are setting, or what your torque wrench is marked in. The other thing is, you don't want to go for the lowest 10% or highest 10% of your range. That's where your calibration is going to run into issues, and you probably won't get accurate torques. I probably should put all this in a separate video, and I will most likely cover that, torquing with crow's feet, and dog bones, and all other kinds of useful information. And so I started at the outside edges, did a cross pattern, and moved in, did a cross pattern, and now I'm going to go around to every bolt and make sure it doesn't move. And because there's some movement, I'm going through and checking them all again. And usually you'd have a designated quality assurance representative watch you do that. And then you come out and you apply from the bolt down over the washer to the surface a stripe of this torque stripe to know that it's been torqued, and so you have a quick visual reference to make sure that it hasn't broken that torque by turning. It does nothing to hold the bolt in place. It's just there basically as a tamper seal that's easily broken, as a quick visual reference that something has come loose. See, and there is our torque stripe applied to the bolts. We'll just let that set aside and dry. And I still haven't torqued this center bolt yet because I couldn't get a good effort on it while it was just flopping around by itself. Okay, that's where I'm going to end this video. Basically, I'm starting to rivet in the bulkheads, and to do that, there's one rivet kind of lying behind each stiffener, J-stiffener, where it curves back over, and this bucking bar is too large to fit in there, so I'm going to have to find something smaller to kind of hook around that and get to that. I also need something to kind of fit in the end of the wedge on the wingtips or the elevator, whatever else that has that shape to it. So hopefully I can find one that kind of does both jobs. I'm going to pick up riveting these middle two bulkheads. At that point the rivet gun will fit in there, so I'll switch back to back riveting. Back there in the aftmost portion of the tail, my rivet gun won't fit in there, the back rivet, so I was just doing the standard riveting with the flush set and the bucking bar, which doesn't look as nice, but with the majority of these being back riveted, I don't think most people will notice. That's pretty much all I have to talk about. I still need to go and buy my static system that I plan on putting in there. I'm going to go ahead and get the Vans one. I believe you get the fittings and then you can get the kit, which has all the tubing that goes with it. I'm just going to go ahead and try that. Hopefully I don't have to crawl in the tail of my plane later to fix a cracked piece of tubing. Other than that, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Also think about subscribing if you haven't. Down in the description below is my builder number. If you want to build your own Vans aircraft, please use that when you order your tail kit. Vans will give me $100 for doing so, as kind of a thank you for me sharing my experience with you. And then also in the description is my builder's log, where you can get more up-to-date progress of where I'm actually at. The videos right now aren't too far behind. And then also you can steal that builder's log and use it when you're doing your own aircraft. I don't mind if it's just an Excel spreadsheet. Basically, I've got days, hours, breakdown of what I'm working on. And also, if you wanted to, you could put links in there to photos of that day's work if you aren't doing a video log like this. And that's all I have. See you in the next video.